Welcome to this special budget session of the Grant County Council. The recess has ended and I'll call this meeting to order. If you would do the roll call, please.
Scott.
Here.
Connors. Hicks.
Here.
Perez.
Here.
Pulling.
Here.
Libby.
Here.
Here. We have a quorum and Mr. Connor, I believe, will be late due to ribbon cutting. At this time, you at your table this evening, you have some updated documents regarding the budget, the Form 4B update, as well as some other information at your table. Mr. McCord, do you have anything you'd like to add? I know.
Yeah, I might just mention, we did receive the state's estimate for the local income tax revenue we should receive in 2025. I think Angie has updated your 4B to reflect that. Affects two funds. General fund, we're using $7,850,000 for the estimate. It's really going to be like $8,830 or $8,833,000, so it'll increase around $150,000 there. And in the EDIT fund, we were using $1,570,000, and it ended up being $1,607,000. So it's like a $35,000 bump there. So bottom line, the estimate was just a little bit less than what the actual is going to be. So we've made that change to the document.
Very good.
That's really all I have, unless you guys have some questions for me. I just popped in right leave and let's serve questions, and I'll be glad to answer those if there are.
Are there any questions from the members? Angie, do you have any more you would like to add? I'll just go ahead and go over our budget goals as we get started this evening. Number one is to adopt a reasonable budget, one that meets our needs and minimizes the needs for additional appropriations. Two is to have reasonable wages and benefits for our employees. And three is to maintain a reasonable operating balance for each fund, and a good definition of reasonable is 10% of the fund's balance. We will go through each department as they come before us this evening. We will listen to all the requests that they bring, including the personnel. However, the items we will be acting upon this evening will be the non-personnel items. We will address the personnel raises and additional position requests at the end of the total budget process. However, if you would, please start with your personnel request first. And I believe we're ready to get started with Superior Court 1 this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, if we start with salaries, you can see that I've requested an increase. Going to be an increase that would provide for a uniform salary rate for all three of the employees at Grand Superior Court Number 1. All of the judges have done that this year. They're requesting the same amount. I think my employees deserve it. I'm going to leave the balance of my time on this issue to Judge McVicker. He was the one that did the research to help support our request. So if we move on to the other categories, the budget I've requested for next year is identical to the budget that was approved for Superior Court Number 1 for last year in every category except one, and that is witness fees. I have eliminated that from my budget request this year. It's no longer necessary. So if you exclude salaries, the budget I'm requesting is actually less than last year.
Are there any questions or comments regarding Superior Court 1's budget request? If there are not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept as presented categories 2, 3, and 4 under 100201 Sup 1.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within Superior Court 1's budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next budget before us this evening is Superior Court 2 and Title 4B. Good evening.
Good evening. Looking at the salary portion first, same as Superior Court 1, you'll notice an increase there that been requested for the several staff members, and we'll let Judge Victor present the research on those numbers and why I feel that those are appropriate and consistent with other counties. Unlike the other courts, of course, you'll notice there the magistrate's pay with a slight increase to that, and then we have the 4D court reporter that has 40% of her pay coming from the 4D incentive fund. And that has a slight increase as well to make sure that she has the same salary as the other court reporters. Apart from the salaries, every other aspect of the budget is the same as last year, except for one, and that is the court-appointed special advocates, what's known as CASA. In last year's budget, we had $62,500 budgeted. This year, we're asking for a slight increase to $63,639. I'm going to pass this around for the members. That just shows some of the time spent on our cases by CASA, and Leslie Hendricks, who's the director of CASA, is here, and she can tell you why we're asking for that slight increase of $1,139 above last year.
Good evening, gentlemen. Nice to see you. I am giving you this evening statistics from the last time that CASA had to ask for an increase. It is a very minimal increase. If you are not aware, the state of Indiana at the legislative level provides funding to the Indiana State Office of GAL CASA. And those monies then are dispersed to each county, and that is based on a formula that we have no control over. It is based on the number of CHINS filings within the county, and those numbers then get plugged in to the formula, and then the money is based on that. So we have asked for $62,500 for the last few years. We had an increase in CHINS filings in 2021, I believe it was, which has that small bump of $1,139 coming to Grant County from the state legislative money. If you do not approve that increase, then we will lose that additional funding from the state. The state will only match what the county is going to provide the program. So the numbers that I gave to Judge Meeks that he dispersed to you now show the amount of work that is done by the volunteers and the staff advocates that we have in our county. The bottom line, as you will see, is we save the county over $1 million in costs that would be associated with this service, should you have to pay for public representation by lawyers for what we do.
Are there any questions from the members? Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only other thing I'll make mention of briefly is the Appeals and Pauper Council Fund is, we're asking for that $11,000, which is the same as last year. Because of my newness to the court, I'm not entirely sure how that fund is used and where all the money went. It looks like as of May 31st, $10,713 of that had already been expended, and I'm on the calendar for the council meeting in September asking for more money for that fund. So we're asking for $11,000 for 25, $11,000 for 2025. I can't tell you assuredly that that would be enough, but historically, it looks like it has been, except for this year. I don't know why that was.
There was a $7,000 correction that was done, that something had been paid out as somewhere else. I'll have to get more information for you, but
Perfect.
that would be mine.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
I have just one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
Judge, I'm just trying to connect what was just passed out to the request of $63,639. So
Sure.
where on here does it show that the services provided equals $63,639 worth of expenditures?
So this just shows you how much CASA is involved in cases. It doesn't show anything on here as far as this being worth $63,000. In fact, this would show you it's worth well over $1 million as far as the services CASA provides. The $63,300, get that, $63,300 $3,639 is what the state has said they are going to provide to Grant County if Grant County can match that amount. So previously it was $62,500, so we're asking for a slight increase, $1,139. And if the county sees fit to give us that extra $1,139, the state will match that. If not, if you stick to the $62,500, the state will only match the $62,500.
So there's $127,000 total, so you're saying no matching what we,
Yes,
Forgiving.
so, and that's a portion of the funding that comes to the CASA program. Our budget is between $350,000 and $400,000 a year.
okay.
So you are just a small portion. It all goes to operating costs for the entire agency. It's not earmarked specifically for a position or something like that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Mike. Are there any other questions from the members? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding Superior Court 2 budget, I move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second. I'll give it to Mr. Lemming to approve within the Superior Court 2's budget, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And the 4D funds, all salaries in there as well. Now, the next budget before us is Superior Court 3.
Good afternoon. The judiciary is requesting a raise for our staff at $45,000, I believe, to be reasonable. What I have done is I've been in contact with Judge Lynn Murray of Howard Circuit Court. We've been talking on the phone, emailing back and forth, and I have those emails in this file. And what Judge, and I want to use 2 counties. I'm not bringing the council Hamilton County numbers. I'm not bringing the council Hendricks County numbers, Lake County numbers. What I'm bringing the council is Howard County and Wayne County, which I believe are 2 of the most similarly situated counties to Grant County out of all 92 counties in the state of Indiana. And in Howard Circuit Court, they have 4 full-time court reporters. And I can certainly attest to the fact that Grant Superior Court 3 could keep 4 full-time court reporters very busy. I'm not asking for an additional court reporter, but she has 4 court reporters, and their current salary is $47,030 exactly. And this, and Howard County has had a historic 5% raise each year. These numbers are current, $47,030. And also, I want to thank the council for the raise last year. I want to speak on behalf of all the court staff that they appreciate it and are thankful for it. Wayne County, the numbers are $48,628.07. So when you look at these 2 counties, when you look at Howard County, you look at Wayne County, you look at Coconut, when you look at Marion, you look at Grant County, our numbers are well below similarly situated counties. So the judiciary is asking, not for what they're making, but a bump up to $45,000. I believe it's justified. I believe our staff has earned it, and it certainly makes it much easier if we do have to replace a staff member to have competitive salaries with similar situated counties. And so it's certainly with inflation, and I probably don't need to tell anybody about inflation, but certainly our dollars are not going as far as they used to, and a raise would be greatly appreciated. And the judiciary unanimously is submitting to this council a request for $45,000. Now, nothing else has changed in regards to my budget, but if anyone has any questions, I'd certainly be happy to entertain those questions.
How many reporter, or how many positions does that request, you know? It's like 12 or 13 to the 45,000.
For each court,
Yeah, how many
it
total?
would be, I want to make sure because there's 2 in juvenile court. So it would be.
There's
I'm not very good
13,
at math.
12 or 13, I think.
I think it'd be 14. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it'd be 14.
That's right.
And then you're gonna provide us with that. those
I can
email-
provide the council with, I mean, yes, emails from Judge Murray, anything the
Okay,
court would
perfect.
like, anything the council would like, the court can provide. So all of this information is as most recent as I can gather. And I've also got, actually, now that I'm reminded, I have a newspaper article from Wayne County. In 2023, Wayne County was able to provide all of their county employees with a 6.5% raise. And I have this article from the Richmond Lady and Item. And so they were able to give a 6.5% raise in 2023, which may be the reason that theirs is slightly higher than Howard County, 6.5% raise. So there's an article on that. So I don't know what either one of these counties is gonna do in 2024, but I do know that historically, because I do have, I have good contact with Judge Murray, 5% raise is what's traditionally happened. Is it gonna happen? I don't know the answer to that. But that's certainly been historically what Howard County has done. And Wayne County, other than 2023, that's 6.5% raise. That they have traditionally been 5% raise too. I can provide the council with any of this information. I actually have a file full of all sorts of information.
Well, I wonder if they quoted us on the pay raises we gave last year. It's interesting how we get into the comparisons between counties, and we gave a good pay raise last year.
You did, and I think I mentioned that it was greatly appreciated.
Judge, do you have, in your research, do you have any information that shows like our docket comparisons, case processing, or any of the case filings and things like that? Do you have any comparison between us and Howard and Wayne as well?
Excuse me, Mike, I do.
You do?
We are seventh in the state in terms of workload per judge. They just redid the weighted caseload studies. Just this year, I saw the numbers last weekend when I went to the Judges Association retreat. So Grant County is seventh in the state in terms of workload per judge. Based upon our docket, we should have 6 judicial officers, and we have 5. So we're each carrying our own caseload and then a fraction of the caseload for another judge. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I can also add to that is that our judicial conference coming up in a couple weeks, we participated, all of the judges in Indiana participated in a weighted caseload study, and those results are going to come out at our judicial conference, and I signed up for the seminar where we're going to discuss those numbers. And I would anticipate that we are going to be near the top or the top of every type of way you can measure caseload per judge. I would imagine that we would be near the top or the very top. I anticipate that. And I can bring those.
I think those are the numbers he used.
He's talked about.
Oh, the weighted caseload.
Yeah, I just saw we're 7th.
You got an early look at them.
Yeah, we went from 9 to 7.
Right, those are the exact numbers. There is a CLE that I signed up for that they're gonna, I guess Judge Spitzer's got a preview of what we'll hear at our judicial conference.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
So my question would be, in your comparison for percentage raises and dollar raises, did you also compare what we do versus what they do? Like, we pay for the pension out of them, so they don't have to pay that. Do you know if Howard Wayne pays that? Do you know how many days off they get? Do you know all those other benefit issues?
You know, I don't specifically know those benefit issues. I can find out that information. I would anticipate they would have a very similar holiday schedule, but on the other issues, I don't know the answer.
So the reason I asked the question is, way before most people sitting in this room, the council of Grant County was giving those type of things instead of giving raises. So a lot of times when I get into these discussions with people, they don't understand that they get way, way more than most other people. So I'd be very concerned and interested to see that number.
Well, I am in good communication with Judge Murray, so specifically what questions do you want answered? And
I'd like to know if they pay the employees retirement, for one thing. I'd like to know how many days off they receive. Do they get their birthdays off? When they sign up, do they get 2 weeks vacation, 6 days automatically? Just the benefit package in general, I'd like to see that comparison.
That's fair. I can certainly get that.
Are there any other questions regarding the salary request? hearing any, proceed on to your budget if you would.
But I think I indicated the
Yeah.
budget is similar to every year I've been judge of Grand Superior Court. We're requesting nothing additional, and we will do more with what we have. We'll continue to do what we can, and we're not our court is not asking for any additional budgetary requests, not a single one.
If there's no more questions, I entertain a motion.
Not that it's a whole lot, there's $1,400 request for meals, is that just a reflection of the number of, an increase in trials, or?
Did it go up? I'm looking at I think I just kept all the numbers the same.
I'm not seeing
At
that.
least on my sheet, wait a minute,
Are you on the right one?
that's Judge Spitzer's question. I think it would make more sense for his than Judge McVicker's. I'm sorry, Judge.
No, that's okay.
I have flipped ahead and didn't realize that I need to go back.
So you're ready to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to pass as presented, categories 2, 3, and 4.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Scott, a second for Mr. Lemming to approve within Soup 3's budget, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next budget before us this evening, Circuit Court. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. I have really not much to add with regards to salaries. I would echo everything that Judge McVicker did. So what I'd like to do is take the time that I normally would have discussed the salaries and talk about something you're going to hear a little bit further, further on in the evening, and that is prosecutors and public defenders and their requests for enhancement to their staff. We talked about already that we're 7th in the state in terms of workloads per court. Out of 92 counties, we're 7th in terms of how much we work per judge. We've had continual increases in felony filings over the last couple of years, so we're busier. And Scott, I think, is going to share some of those numbers with you. The other thing that Scott and I sat down, I think, as you know, I'm kind of a data guy, and Scott and I sat down and looked at our statistics in terms of clearing cases and moving cases, and we've increased significantly on that front from last year, so we're moving a lot more cases. And that is despite the fact that they have been understaffed. We can't move cases without prosecutors and public defenders. And again, as judges do it on our own, we have to have lawyers working the cases. And so, while we have done a good job of clearing cases, we still have more work to do. That's why we have an overcrowded jail. And I know you guys have spent a lot of money on an overcrowded jail, and putting people other places. I'd love to get rid of that too, because that's been a huge pain in the butt for us in terms of having to have people transported back and forth and, finding where they are, and then, they can't come back for one reason or another, delaying hearings, and it's just, it's more for our staff to handle. And I think that what we've seen with regards to prosecutors and public defenders is we're being outbid by other counties. And so we've had a lot of people who previously were working for us aren't anymore. And we're being outbid by Wabash County, Huntington County, Blackford County. That's not just notable, it's embarrassing. And it's not surprising because those attorneys will go over to those counties and they'll work less and get paid more. Their caseloads are lower, their pay is higher. It's a rational decision that they make. And so the only reason to change that is to change the calculus that they make when they make those rational decisions. And so I want to advocate for both Scott and Bruce's arguments and echo the arguments that they make that they really do need some help in that area. Help that you give them will provide us with help as well, will provide Sheriff help as well with the work that he's doing. Okay, so I'll get off of that and move on to my budget. So I've asked for increases in 3 different areas, and salaries we already talked about. The second one is jury per diem. And so I'm asking an increase from 52,000 to 80,000. As you might recall, jury per diem and jury meals, we have consolidated those budgets all into circuit court. And so those claims, the other courts will give those claims to me when they have a jury trial. And then we'll pay them out of the one budget. And so this in essence is an increase for all courts. And the reason for that is that we have, as you can see, we had a total budget of 52,000, and by May 31st, we'd already spent 45. And as you know, I've come back and asked you for more money, and you've approved it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I'm hopeful that 80 would be enough to carry us for 2025. We've been trying a lot of cases, and that's a good thing. That moves things. With regards to juror meals, that's the other issue. I'm asking for an increase from 4,100 to 5,500. And if you look at what was expended on May 31st, that would put us about where we need to go. We're not super extravagant for juror meals. Typically, it's Jimmy John's because they're freaky fast and freaky good, or it's pizza. So, and let me tell you, if you've ever served as a juror, you deserve probably more than Jimmy John's or pizza, but those are the places that will deliver on fairly short notice. And so that's typically what we're feeding our jurors as well. The one thing I would say with the jury per diem is that they did increase juror pay in the last legislative session, and so we're paying them a little bit more by the legislature finally increasing that, and that had been the first time since I've been on the bench, I think, that had been increased. And really, I mean, that's a good thing. Jurors, it's a huge service that they provide. And it's difficult work for them. If you ever had to sit there and listen and then make a difficult decision about somebody's life, you know, there's a lot of value to that. And so with that, I am requesting those increases in my budget. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the members? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding circuit court, move to approve categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within the circuit court budget categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next budget before us this evening is the Highway Department. Yeah, 1173, the MPH restricted is first in our book.
I guess I'll start out with the personnel service. I'm basically asking for a 5% increase for all employees, all positions. I think everybody's aware that, like the judges said earlier, that we keep losing staff. We've lost 3 already in 2024 already, and it's all due to wages. So I'd like to try to get something where I can keep a good working staff for years to come. So I put in for a 5% increase on wages, and I would also like to move the longevity up to 2024 salary. Currently it's at 2021 salary, so I can bump it up to that. So that's on the personnel side.
Are there any questions from the members on regarding the highway salary and personnel side? Did your part-time rate change?
I did raise it a little bit. I just had budgeted, I think, 15,000. I moved it up to 20,000 for part-time.
moved up to? Now you took it down.
Yeah, I took it down. I just made it 50,000.
So did you say you want to start with restricted or not?
Yes, NVH restricted.
Okay, restricted, pretty much everything the same as last year. The only thing I did reduce a little bit was bituminous. I reduced it 50,000. And pavement marking, I did raise it to 100,000 from 80,000 of this year. Everything else remains the same.
Are there any questions regarding the highways request within 1173? And Angie, everything is supported by this fund? Okay. If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion. It'd be categories 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. President, I move to approve Fund 1173, UVH restricted, approving categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within 1173, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to 1176.
Pretty much 1176 stays the same as last year, except the part-time went up and the overtime I reduced $5,880. Salt I reduced from 120,000 to 20,000. Cell phone allowance, I did raise that $200 from 2,000 to 2,200. Garage and motor, I raised from 125,000 to 140,000. And then on downward, and there's CDL physicals, I raised it $500. Drug and alcohol testing, I raised $500. Utilities, I raised $5,000. And radio repair, I raised $500. Everything else pretty much remains the same, 76, other than, like I said, asking for the 5% increase in the employee. I didn't do the vehicle insurance, I did take it off because the commissioners have been paying that through their office. So I've saved some money there, so get all there. I think, if I remember right, 1176, there was like a $200,000 increase if the wages were approved. So, with perf and everything else that would go along with that.
Are there any questions from the members? Angie, do you have any questions?
And the two funds combined, the restricted and non-restricted, was like $4.2 million. Give you an idea what the total is for the two together.
If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 1176 Motor Vehicle Highway Fund.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve funds, categories 2, 3. Are we doing all of them then?
Yeah, I believe so. Do 2 and 3 of every.
And then the last one was 4, 1176 motor vehicle highway.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve within Fund 1176, categories 2 and 3 within the Highway Administration, categories 2 and 3 within Maintenance and Repair, categories 2 and 3 within General and Undistributed, and then Motor Vehicle Capital Outlay, category 4. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Cumulative Bridge is next. Fine. Which this is.
King Bridge, we just kind of moved some things around. We got new bridge projects that we're starting and everything else, so. Culvert pipe and tile, I raised it from 150,000 to 200,000. Contractual services, I left at 200,000. Repair and maintenance, I raised that from 125 to 200,000. And then we have a bridge on the 1100 South that we're hoping to replace this year, and I put 300,000 in for it. And then another bridge here in Marion, Bridge 791 on 14th Street, we're putting there 300,000 in. That's mainly to do the design work and to make sure we make the match for the community crossing grant that we will apply for. So.
Are there any questions from the members regarding 1135 Cumulative Bridge categories 2, 3, and 4? Andy, do we typically approve this one?
Yes.
Yep. If there's no other questions from the members, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, regarding Fund 1135, Hume Bridge, move to approve all categories as presented.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within 1135 Cumulative Bridge, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to 1169 Local Road and Street Fund.
Yeah, so on this one here, I did go down 100,000. I just put it at 600,000. And the reason I did that was just to believe what I believe we will receive next year, so I didn't want to go over budget. So if there's additional money, I'll come back like I always do in the summer and ask for additional funding.
Are there any questions from the members? I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve Fund 1169 Local Road and Street Fund, Category 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to 4013, the recycling center.
The recycle center, I did the same thing on personnel, asked for a 5% increase for the part-time and the director of the recycle center. Everything else I left the same except for contractual services. I raised it from 20,000 to 25,000. But other than that, everything stayed the same.
Are there any questions regarding the recycle center fund? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to approve Fund 4013, the recycling center fund, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll do 4957, the county wheel and surtax fund.
Yes, on this one, we adopted last year $1 million. If you remember right, that started the year before, so that we could ask for additional. And so we've spent almost $1.7 million in it this year. But I just asked for $1 million for next year. It's usually what we bring in, so, or at least the first 2 years, that's what it brought in. So I just asked for $1 million on that.
This is a fee-driven fund that's tacked on as the wheel tax. Currently, as of 6/30/2024, the fund balance is showing $1,230,000, roughly. If there's no questions regarding the request, you can go ahead and approve it. Correct, Angie? So a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve 4957, the county wheel and surtax fund, category 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I believe that's all your funds.
Yep. Thank you.
Good, thank you, have a good evening. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Recess. The recess has ended, and we'll go ahead and get started back through the budget process. The next budget before us this evening will be the prosecutor.
I first want to thank Judge Spitzer for speaking up on behalf of the public defenders and the prosecutor's office. You can go through again, I would prefer, if it's all right with the council, just to go through the non-salary items first. There is one slight change, I believe, that I don't know if it's been made on their reports. There was an omission of one line for publications. We did not have an amount allocated this year for publications. That should have been $2,100. We're not asking for an increase, we're just asking for the same on publications. Repair and maintenance, we are asking that just go away. It's $1,000, but we don't need that. That's in 1,009. With respect to 4D, in all other respects, in the prosecutor's office, we are not asking for any increases. We are asking for a little bit of a change or shifting in the 4D budget. So 1,9602. We are asking for the professional services to be reduced from 1,100. The equipment to be reduced from 5,000 to 4,000. But we are asking for that 1,500 to be reallocated to travel and conference. The reason for that is getting more expensive for the 4D department to go to their conference and that travel for there. So we are asking for that slight change with respect to the non-salary categories.
You're saying in the 4D, the professional services, you want at what?
At 500.
Okay.
So it's a reduction of $500.
Okay.
And a reduction of 1,000 in equipment. Now, we are asking for that $1,500 then to be reallocated to the travel and conference, making that, instead of $4,500, up to $6,000. And that's just to save us from having to come back later on and asking for a transfer of funds. With respect to salaries, Judge Spitzer gave some numbers. I've done a little bit of digging. Back in 2014, so 10 years ago, there were 8 full-time prosecutors in the prosecutor's office. there were 970 cases filed in what I will call felony courts, that's Superior Court 1, 2, 3, and so 970 cases filed in those courts for 8 full-time prosecutors. If you do the math, that would, if everybody was allocated equally, that would be 121 cases that year, new cases for each prosecutor who was employed. That included the elected and chief and all the deputies. In 2014, we have, at present, the capacity for 8 positions. We have 7 full-time right now. On pace, we are on pace this year. If the numbers continue at the rate they are going, to have 1,558 cases filed in those 4 courts. That's a 60% increase in the felony filings in 10 years, and a 0% increase in the staffing in the prosecutor's office with respect to deputy prosecutors. And as you look at that, if we were fully staffed with 8 prosecutors in our office right now, that would still be 195 cases per prosecutor, which is a 60% increase in the workload for every deputy prosecutor in the office. In actuality, we have 7 full-time employees, that's including myself. I do carry a full caseload. Right now, we are on pace to have 222 cases per prosecutor this year. That is a huge increase, 80% increase in the number of cases prosecutors are handling over the past 10 years. And there's no indication that number is going to decrease. And I'll have you know that those cases are not possession of marijuana cases, simple battery cases, invasion of privacy cases, simple invasion of privacy cases. These are felony cases and OWI cases. Serious cases that we are filing. We don't go out and look as a prosecutor's office for ways to file on people. These are cases that are brought to us, and we do decline a fair share of cases. The fact of the matter is, as Judge Spitzer indicated with respect to the allocation of cases to these courts, there is a huge increase in the allocation of felony and OWI misdemeanor cases in our felony courts. And we have stayed stagnant with respect to deputy prosecuting attorneys. One of the main things that we have heard talked about in the past couple of years is we need a new jail, we need a new jail, we need a new jail. And I want to give you an analogy. If you own a home and your sink is leaky and your dishwasher keeps spilling water onto your kitchen floor, and your kitchen floor is needing repaired, it is a waste of money to repair your kitchen floor until you fix the sink and the dishwasher. And right now, you'll probably not hear very many prosecutors do this. I'm advocating for the public defender's office. I've talked to Bruce. I don't always like him in court. Sorry, Bruce. But I have a good working relationship with Bruce. The fact of the matter is, we are both drowning in cases. And it is hard to keep cases moving when you don't have seasoned deputy prosecutors and when you don't have public defenders who are seasoned, who are experienced. We have good public defenders, don't get me wrong, but the fact of the matter is, they have had so much turnover. They've lost 3 this year, 3 really, really good public defenders this year. Tom Myers, Caitlin, and Judge Meeks. Those 3 were able to handle the significant cases, murder cases, serious felony cases. And what we are seeing in the prosecutor's office, and I believe what Mr. Elliott's seeing, and he can speak to this, is we do have some people coming. I have hired a new prosecutor, but he doesn't have experience. He's doing a fantastic job, but he doesn't have the experience. He's not ready to do another trial, a murder trial, an armed robbery trial. Mr. Elliott has had several new public defenders. The fact of the matter is they either don't stick around, they up and leave when they realize how hard the work actually is in criminal law. They move to different counties, as Judge Spitzer has said, Blackford County, Huntington County, Wabash County. They are all paying more, at least for the public defenders, than we are here. I believe my record has shown that I am not one who wants to spend money. I came last year and I cut where I could cut. And you were generous, more than generous, with respect to salaries that you gave. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to attorneys, it's just simply not cutting it. There's a study that shows that in the nation, Indiana ranks in, I believe, the lowest 80th percentile in the number of attorneys per capita that are needed. Grant County ranks at the bottom, one of the 2 or 3 lowest represented populaces for attorneys. It is not feasible for us to continue down this path. That is why I am asking 2 things with respect to deputy prosecutors. I'm asking for a new position, one to be filled by a newer prosecutor, somebody with less experience. I have had bites and nibbles from students who are just out of law school. I remember when I got out of law school, Mike Connor would have appreciated this. His partner, Kyle Persinger, sat me down and he said, you know nothing about the law. And he was right. As a brand new lawyer, I knew nothing about being an attorney. I knew about the law, I passed the bar exam, but I knew nothing. It takes time. But we need somebody who can jump in and do serious cases. So I'm asking, in the sheet that I have provided, the request that I have provided, is I'm asking for 2 positions, their salaries to be $105,000. And that may seem like an awful lot until you start looking around at Howard County, Wabash, and other counties, Madison County. These are not counties far away. These are counties that we would draw the same people from. Each one of them pays their deputies over $100,000. So I'm asking for two positions. One would be Jamie Moore's position. Jamie is an incredible trial attorney. He has 11 years of experience doing all sorts of trials. But we need somebody who has that kind of experience. I have a couple of people in mind that I would like to reach out to, but I can't do it if I can't pay them what it would take to either get them away from where they are or to bring them in to begin with. I am asking for several other positions. You can see there the different pay that I'm asking for. I would note that the domestic violence prosecutor, Happy Johnston, it says $55,000, but that's also covered in the stop grant that we have. So the salaries would be relatively the same, $86,940, which is a lot. It is a big raise. I don't want to lose what we have. And so that's why I'm asking for your consideration with respect to those salaries. The salaries of my staff, the 4D staff, I'm asking for a simple 5% raise, which I believe would keep us in line with inflation. It's probably under inflation, to be honest with you, what we've seen in the past 2 years. But I would ask for a 5% increase in their salaries. With respect to our case processors, I'm asking that their salaries be raised to $42,500, which may seem like an arbitrary number, but it is a number that is reflective of the work that they are doing. We had 3 case processors back in 2014, when we have a 60% increase in the work and 0% increase in the staff. That means they have to do 60% more work. We are going paperless in our office. We have all but one attorney who is pretty much, we have 2 attorneys that are still like their paper a little bit, but everybody else has shifted away. But that does put a little bit more burden on our staff. And so I believe that that is fair. It's also approximately in line with what the court staff is asking, or the courts are asking their staff to be paid. This does not affect me at all, your decision. My pay is what my pay is by statute. But this decision affects very good men and women who have dedicated themselves to seeking justice, to working hard. I can tell you that to a person, my deputy prosecutors work hard. They are, I was at my office until the meeting tonight, and several of them were still there when I came over here. We are working to push cases, but the numbers just don't lie, and we need help. That's why I'm asking for this additional prosecutor and the raise. And just so you know, the math of it is, even if you give me a 9th prosecutor, we will still be averaging 173 cases per prosecutor, which is a 43% increase from 10 years ago. It is not a huge ask, but it is an ask. One thing I am advocating for, I'm talking to representatives about, is a bill that is going through, hopefully will be presented next year at the state legislature, which will offset funds for deputy prosecutors so that the state can bear a burden. If I understand that bill correctly, right now, our county would not qualify because we don't have enough. And my proposed budget this year, only 2 people would qualify for reimbursement. That's based on one of the proposed bills. That's where we are as a county. We are not made of money. Money does not grow on trees. I don't want to raise taxes. But at some point, both the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office have to deal with the realities that we are faced with, which is an increased number of crimes committed by individuals who need to be held responsible and who need to have good representation so that that is done. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
All of you get up here and say how busy you are, how overloaded you are, but none of your witness fees, your transcripts, none of this stuff raises over years. How is that?
I will tell you how witness fees don't raise over the years. It's pretty high. We've never been to the $10,000 mark on our witness fees.
No, I'm just curious about everything.
Sure.
I mean, I've looked back through all the judges, everybody, for years. You guys are now saying you're so over busy. Do you guys have courts on Fridays?
Do I have court on Fridays?
Does the courts have court on Friday? Every court?
Yes.
Every court?
Yes.
Well, I've walked over here several times in the last 6 months. I've never seen courts going on up there. Have you, Mr. Middlesworth?
Very seldom, it seems like.
And I can...
Come on over to our courts. Maybe you're going to the wrong place.
So, Mr. Froy, I appreciate the question.
Let me finish.
Sure, I apologize.
Every company in this country is behind manpower. But you know what we do? We pick it up. We don't complain. We pick it up. Our people pick it up. That's how we stay in business. I understand what you guys are saying, but since I've been on this council, you guys have got a 21% raise, everybody across the board. Sheriff's Department got 27. That's a pretty good raise in the last 3 years, I think.
I appreciate that. I don't disagree with you. Mr. Fuller, I apologize. Mr. Fuller. You would appreciate this. because you're a business owner. You have to have skilled laborers. The deputy prosecutor is not, well, I just can't go out on the street and find a deputy prosecutor, just like you can't go out on the street and just pick up any person to do the work that you do. It's skill. It requires training. And unfortunately, when the labor force isn't there, you do have to pick it up. I believe I've demonstrated that we have to pick it up. One of the things I do is I do not let my deputies order transcripts unless we go to trial. So that is one of the reasons why you don't see that transcript fee going up. We do depositions. When we go to trial, then we ask for it. Then we'll ask for the transcript.
I'm just curious, I just looked at all the numbers and now it's changed. Well, if you're so busy, it looks like
Well,
something.
I believe one of the things that did change, Mr. Pullen, was the fact that we had to come back and ask for additional fees for juries. So there are jury trials. Now, the reason witness fees don't go up is generally that is for doctors and or pathologists in homicide cases. Just because, you know, a typical homicide case, we have a $2,000 fee for a doctor to come and testify in a homicide case. We haven't had many of those go to trial. A lot of those we end up getting pleaded down. But your run-of-the-mill OWI cases, domestic battery cases, robbery cases, we have lab people that come in who are employed by the state of Indiana, so we don't have to pay them. We have officers who come in, so we don't have to pay them. So that's why you see that number staying the same. It is not that there are not trials going on, it's that we have not had the kind of witnesses, we are not hiring skilled witnesses to come in and testify all the time, but we have. And when we do, you do see those funds being expended.
So my question would be, if you currently have a vacancy and you're waiting to hire another person and we're not paying enough, are you basically telling us if you don't raise the pay, you don't get any people?
What I'm telling you is I could likely hire somebody right out of law school for this pay, for a lower pay. But, you know, it's like anything. There's a learning curve, and it's
Sure.
it's a steep learning curve.
But by raising the pay, are you going to get what you need, or are we still going to go through the same growing pains?
Well, to be honest with you, we will be, if you give me the raise, I believe we can get what we need with respect to an experienced prosecutor.
How many seasoned people do you have?
By seasoned people, I assume you mean people with
Say over 10 years.
10 years? 3.
And how many unseasoned do you have?
4. Criminally speaking. Now, we have some that were in private practice before. What I look at is we have 3, and I believe Mr. Elliott could attest to this as well. We have 3 prosecutors, and I'm including myself in that, that are capable right now to go to trial on a murder trial tomorrow. We have 3 that are, well, we have 3 that are getting there. But again, that takes time. Right out of law school or right into the prosecutor's office, you don't throw somebody into trial. Those are serious things. So we have 3 seasoned prosecutors, and I can tell you that 2 of us are paid by the state.
Right.
One is paid by the county, and he could very easily go somewhere else if he desired. And I don't know why. I'm glad he hasn't. I don't know why. Because it wouldn't take much.
Mr. Hunt, if I could ask a couple questions. Sure. You said filings are up almost double, almost 1,600.
Yes, that's, it works, yeah, 1558.
So the two 4D deputy prosecutors would not be handling any of those cases, correct?
No,
The two other, what I would call, I guess, part-time deputy prosecutors is how it looks like.
right, they are part-time.
Would they handle any of those cases?
One, a little bit. He's, one of the part-time is like basically to charge cases right now. The part-time I have right now is actually a graduate intern, so he can do everything that an attorney can, but he has to be supervised. The other part-time, no. The other part-time does the city court cases. And those have gone up astronomically as well.
Sure.
And she does a fantastic job, and I would love to have her full-time.
I guess more of your opinion, I'd just like to hear your thought. If we were to raise deputy prosecutor pay to be competitive with all the counties that surround us, what would be the attraction for them? If they're going to come to Grant County and get paid the same amount of money that they're going to get paid where they're at, what would be the attraction to come to Grant
The
County?
attraction to come here is one, they will be paired with, or given greater, like if I get somebody with a lot of experience, they'd be given all the trials they want and all the support they want. I will sit in there with them. I know Mr. Hammond will, Mr. Moore would as well. We have each other's back, we help each other in the trials. The other thing is, Marion has a great standard cost of living. And so I do appreciate the fact that, $100,000 here goes a whole lot farther than $100,000 in Hamilton County. That's one thing we have to offer. So that, the freedom to work in the prosecutor's office, it's not a very attractive office aesthetically. I mean, it's just, my office looks like it was decorated in the 1980s. I'm okay with that. I don't want to spend money on that. I'd rather spend money where it's needed. But there's support staff, there's help, and this is a good community. I have a good office. I mean, the people that I have there care. And I think if you talk to my newest deputy prosecutor who I hired, Brad Bowers, I think he would tell you the same thing. He likes it here. He's doing a phenomenal job in judging Vickers Court. And he will tell you that there are benefits to being, he was in Fort Wayne for a time, prosecutor's office up there, and now he's here. And he likes it here a lot better. So there are intangible things that make this office, in my opinion, a good place to be. But I'm going to tell you, one of the main things is, why would anybody want to move to Grant County or Marion? I've heard that. Why would I want to move there? And the draw is, especially for a lot of young attorneys, is they think that Indianapolis, or one of the donut counties, if you'll allow me to use the term, it's sexy, right? It's the cool place to be down there. They don't know what they're doing. But if you want courtroom experience, a lot of times people want to come out and be a prosecutor for 2, 3, 4 years, go in to other things. I don't like that, but at this point, I'm willing to take that. Because you will get trial experience here from day one. Brad Bowers had a trial within the first month of him being here. And I sat with him, and we did a trial. They can get as much experience as they want here. And for those who have a desire and a hunger to do that, to get the experience, to be in court, this is the place to be. I guess to go back to Mr. Pollian's point, a lot of our work is not necessarily in the courtroom. So for every case that gets brought over to my office and charged, there's about 4 hours of work that a deputy prosecutor has to do on that case. Most of that is in the office, not in the courtroom. But what you do have is, when you get to the courtroom, it's ready to go, and we can push that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Sure, no, sure, and I appreciate your answers, and I mean, honestly, it seems like it's a big ask, and it's a big gift, because to ask somebody to potentially move their family to get paid the same amount of money that they're gonna get paid to move to a brand new place, or to even ask them to, they're gonna travel 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, to come to an office that they're gonna be working harder, possibly putting in more time, and get paid for the same amount of money. Seems like it'd be a challenge for sure.
It is.
I think Grant County is going to become a much more attractive place in the very near future. I'm really excited of the things that's going to be happening and coming down the pipe for Grant County, so hopefully it does become more attractive to young professionals. We have some work to get done before then.
Yes.
But I think things are in motion, and we're definitely going to get there. I just worry of the challenge of getting the experience that you need in your office from the surrounding counties, because I see it as it's risky, it's challenging, I think, but I mean.
You know, I want to share something else really quick about experience and seasoned attorneys. If you look back at who was in the prosecutor's office in 2014, you had 5 really seasoned attorneys. You had, like it or not, you had Jim Luttrell, who had 25, 30 years of experience. Bill Heck, 25 years of experience. Lisa Glancy, 20 years of experience. Rodney Falk, 20 years of experience. You had Bridget Faust, who had 4 or 5 years of experience. Jamie Moore, Hannah Thompson. These are people who had experience and they were here. Unfortunately, the climate has changed for attorneys.
It has.
Yep. It has. Are there any questions regarding the salary request? If not, we'll go ahead and go through approving his budget. Motion for categories 2 and 3. And 4. We'll go ahead and take care of that one.
Yep, so moved on 1000-0009 prosecutor, category 2, 3, and 4.
With the change in, can we increase that line item?
Publications.
Publications.
I called her and informed her of the mistake earlier today.
Okay, yep.
So she should have that.
So you need publications at $2,100 added.
Yep. That's part of the motion. Yep. Who seconded it?
If nobody did, I will.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve within the prosecutor's fund categories 2, 3, and 4, noting the changes to publications to 2,100. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the grant fund. 0290. Looks like everything there is unchanged as well. Are there any questions from the members? I'd entertain a motion regarding that fund.
President, I make a motion to approve categories 2 and 3 under 1000-0290 grant fund.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve within the Victims Fund 0290, categories 2 and 3 as presented. All those, are there any questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the Spotlight Grant. Looks like that is unchanged as well, category 3.
I think, is that the one you wanted to reduce it by 500 under travel and conference?
No, that's the 40.
Okay.
So, no, not this one. This is things.
So is there a motion regarding 9,600?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve within the Spotlight Grant 9,600, category 3 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're to the 9602 Prosecutor 4D Fund, categories 2, 3, and 4. And All the changes were already in within the budget.
Yeah, they were already in there, I was just trying to retain.
Yep. So is there a motion regarding this fund?
Mr. President, I make a motion to categories 2, 3, and 4 under the 1000-9602 prosecutor 4D fund.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve on 9602 prosecutor 4D fund, categories 2, 3, and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the 2400 deferred prosecution, which is all salaries. And pretrial diversion, which is all salaries. And that's prosecutor 4D incentive fund, salaries. I think that concludes it. Thank you. Next budget before us this evening is the public defender.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know if you want me to talk about salaries at this time, or if you want to go through the other.
Yeah, if you would, just go ahead and talk about your salaries first. That'd be great.
Thank you. Our budget for next year, we are calling for a significant increase in salaries. And before I get into great detail about that, I know in prior years, I've come here and with my hat in my hand, arguing with the council about the need to increase the public defenders. Okay. Last year, I would say the council took a significant swipe at it, and we appreciate those efforts. We're back again with the same request. We are asking for our trial public defenders to be paid $60,000 a year. We realize that the public defenders' jobs are part-time, they're not full-time, as Mr. Hunt is asking for his employees. We are not requesting certainly that our trial PDs get paid $100,000. I am the chief public defender, like Mr. Hunt and the judges. My chief salary is set by the state. Unfortunately, the county bears the entire burden of my salary. I am not paid by the state like the chief deputy prosecutor and the prosecutor. I know last year when we were going through the budget process, we had very good discussions about the idea of trying to bring more public defenders on board in a full-time role. And my budget, or our budget for next year reflects that. I am making a request for next year for one of our public defenders, one of our more senior public defenders, Jerry Drug, to be made chief deputy public defender. And that would come with a significant salary increase. We would ask for the same salary for that position as the chief deputy prosecutor receives. I believe that is also paid by the state, and then there is a stipend paid by the county. I'm not sure what that amount is, as I sit here today.
You're saying that if the deputy chief position would be like a reimbursement from the state, or?
It will not be paid by the state.
40% will be paid, reimbursed.
Okay.
But I know Mr. Hammond, for instance, with the prosecutor's office, his salary, or most of that is picked up by the state. There was some attempt some years back for that to happen for the public defenders. That's gone nowhere, and I don't expect it to go anywhere in the near future. As the judges have indicated, and as Mr. Hunt has indicated, we are, as public defenders, having a difficult time keeping public defenders. Earlier this year, we actually had a full slate of public defenders. And then a couple of our public defenders decided it was a good idea to become judge. Bridget Faust, as you probably recall, was appointed by the governor to take over Dana Kenworthy's position when she went to the Court of Appeals. Then we had a pretty hotly contested primary, and I lost another public defender, Nathan Meeks, who is now Superior Court 2 judge. So we took a hit there. We realized that. We were making plans to make sure we had that replaced, or had a replacement. Well, same time, Wabash County lured one of our public defenders, Kate Lynn, to Wabash County for more money, less work. I've joked around that I may want to go apply for work up there when I'm done here. But so we lost Kate. We had hired Josh Byansky, who was a name. He worked in the prosecutor's office here for a few years. Was familiar with Grant County. We thought he'd be a good fit. As it turned out, he was not. He felt like the public defender job was taking away from his private practice, so he left after 2 months. We had hired another young attorney out of Delaware County. Really liked his energy. 2 weeks after we hired him, he got a better paying job, less work. We lost him. So now we're down three people. The good news is we've got a couple younger attorneys that have just finished law school. They have taken the bar. They're waiting for results. We may know something about that here in the next month or so. As Scott has indicated, that's good in a way. We're filling a position, but we're having very young attorneys that will take a lot of training, and we're willing to do that. And just to follow up on questions we asked by Mr. Scott, Mr. Pulling, and Mr. Hunt, I'll tell you, one of the reasons that Grant County is an attractive place to practice law is the people. I'm not talking just the judges, but we have excellent judges here. And we have excellent people in the prosecutor's office. And, I don't live here in Grant County any longer. I live in Hamilton County, one of the donut counties. I never gave it a second's thought about working down there or in Indianapolis because of the people here. So that is an attractive part of working here. I think we can get attorneys to come here. Problem is, with PDs, we gotta find a sweet spot, a number that when they look at their bank account, are they making enough money? Is getting along with the judges and the prosecutor's office enough of a benefit that they aren't looking anywhere else. Okay? I don't think we're there yet. But I think certainly if we get to the $60,000 range, then we'll be close. I was able to fill those positions at the $50,000, but we didn't keep them long because they were still looking for other positions. Now, one of the benefits about a chief deputy would be that he would be full-time, or that individual would be full-time. They would get a ability to have more cases, okay? Right now, we've had to take a lot of cases from these other attorneys. We're over our numbers. The Public Defender Commission told us earlier this year during a conference, we're gonna give you 2 quarters. If you're out of compliance 2 quarters in a row, we're gonna start hitting you on your 40% reimbursement. We're out of compliance this quarter. And that's largely because we're down 3 attorneys. The good news is, we haven't been paying those 3 attorneys, so there's money still there. Now, what are we doing to try to fill that? Like I said, we've talked to two younger folks that we should know their results on the bar exam soon. I've also called some public defenders from other counties where we're going to be able to pay them an hourly rate to try to keep us or get us into compliance for next quarter. So we aren't in jeopardy of losing that 40%. I've got to tell you, I've met with some reluctance. They're happy where they're at. They like the money they're making there. But I have talked to a couple, and I have a couple on board, and I plan on getting more so we can stay in compliance. Now, we have a supplemental fund that can pay for some of that, but I will be coming before the council again, I think, to get monies reallocated so we can pay them on the $100 an hour basis. So, salary-wise, those are the big changes. We're asking for 10 trial PDs to be making $60,000 a year. I believe the chief deputy job, which I had checked with Jerry Drupp to see if he would be willing to do that. I think the number was $150,000. He has indicated he is willing to do that. Also, you'll see that at the bottom of our public defender's salary comparison, it's broken down about there are some contract positions. We still have 4 super PDs. We're not asking to change their pay. They again do the appeals, murder cases, and conflict cases. We're not asking for any change in the contract for the CHINs or TPR cases. That's $12,500 for each of the 2 PDs to do that. Now, we've heard a lot tonight about the increase in the criminal side, the numbers. The CHINs cases are also exploding. Hopefully, if we're able to hire one of the younger individuals that I've talked about, they will be interested in helping do some CHINs work. We are asking for a raise for John Lawson, our investigator. He is currently making $43,164. I've asked for that to be raised to $50,000. That is a substantial increase, I understand that, but it is more in line with what the prosecutors, investigators are making. And I will say this, we have one investigator in the PD office. Prosecutor has at least two, then they have every other law enforcement officer in Grant County working for them. We don't have that benefit.
Mr. Elliott, the person, whoever would be the deputy chief, would they still maintain their practice, or would they have to give that up?
They would have to do that. It is a full-time position.
And then that, just correct me if I'm wrong, that we could get to 40%. They could, what determines the caseload? I guess how is that?
Well, and that's not an easy answer, but
Okay.
part of it is the number of cases. Part of it is the level of felonies that you're taking. So obviously a murder case would take the most.
There's a point system, so to speak.
Correct.
So let's say you don't get to 40%. Does the caseload don't matter at that point?
It matters. I mean, we try to, the goal is we try to work everybody to their maximum without going over. Now, the commission will let us fudge a little bit. Sometimes we can work them to 110%, but not more than that. So I brought the numbers. If you want to hear the percentage where we're at currently, it's not where I want to be, but again, it's because we have
you're short three
people. Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, we talked a little bit about this last year, getting somewhere to where we could have 3 full-time. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be you, a chief deputy, and 1 more possibly.
Correct.
So if you was gonna have 3 full-time, what would the pay need to be for just a public defender to be retainable?
I'm thinking if we were to get a 3rd full-time public defender, then we would be looking somewhere near what Mr. Hunt is asking for that 3rd public defender.
Yeah, you're saying 105 then?
Yes, somewhere in that area.
And do you think that's achievable, or?
There are 2 public defenders that we have currently that I think consider that. Again, that would require giving up their private practice. So, you know, a lot factors into that. Certainly if they give up their private practice, then they don't have to pay for the overhead for their office and their staff and that sort of thing. So I would think that would get us closer.
Comparable to other counties, are there any other counties that have full-time, like 3 or 4 or 5 or?
Yes, the larger counties certainly have full-time offices. For instance, Huntington County, they all have private practices, much like ours. Wabash County, the same.
The larger counties have the full-time, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Like Kokomo, Wayne County.
See, I don't know about Howard County. I know they have a chief. I don't know if they have any deputies full-time.
If you had 3 full-time, could you cut some to part-time?
Possibly. And that's a hard one to answer, Mr. Pulling, because we don't know. We don't know what the filings are gonna look like.
Right.
Right now, we have 16 different murder cases we're dealing with. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm gonna guess my predecessor didn't have 16 the whole time he was in my position. We have 16 pending right now, and we try to appoint 2 PDs on each of those cases because they're significant cases. The state usually has 2 prosecutors on those cases. So, you know, I'm still baffled how we're losing population, but our crime increases, our chance case increases. So There's more going on than just what's happening in the prosecutor's office and the PD.
Well, I think, and I don't know that you'd ever get the answer, but is crime increasing or is filings increasing? Is it a little bit of both? Is it filing decisions between prosecutors that skews the numbers? You know, those are all things that are very difficult to pinpoint and know.
I agree.
Plus, how many years ago did they change it? The system, so it's level 6, 5. That caused a lot more felonies, correct? I mean, versus.
No, I'm not sure that caused more felonies. It might have affected, in certain cases, how cases were filed.
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, I'll say this, and again, I appreciate the kind words from Mr. Hunt. I've seen a marked improvement in the management of the prosecutor's office from the past administration. Things are getting changed. I think there has been certainly improvement getting cases through the system.
It's a slow ship to turn, that's for sure. I mean, that's why we slowed it down last year so many times. I think that we're working towards it. I mean, I think that people on this council are still very interested in making it work.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I can tell you the public defender's office very interested in if we can do anything to get the caseload down and get the cases resolved quicker, we're on board.
I guess maybe that's my question I was thinking about earlier. So in hiring full-time, I mean, case filings is the issue. You've already hit your limits, and we're in August, almost September, but anyways, we still have, you know, a good part of the year left. As opposed to hiring a full-time deputy chief, why would we not hire 3 more public defenders? Because wouldn't they be able to carry more cases than what that one full-time chief deputy would?
If we hired, it depends if they're taking level 6s or if they're taking higher levels. The higher levels, you don't get as many appointments. So yeah, that's something we've got to try to figure out. And I can't tell you if it's going to be cheaper that way or cheaper with a full-time chief deputy, because I don't know what the filings are going to look like.
And I'm not really interested in cheaper at this point. Right. I'm looking at efficiency and effectiveness more than anything.
And we have lost so much legal talent here in the last couple of years in the public defender's office. And it's because, you know, some of it has actually been lost to the prosecutor's office. Some has been lost because of the judges. Some of it's been lost to DCS. DCS attorneys are getting paid very well these days, and then some of our surrounding counties are paying better. So that, we can't replace that. That's something we'll never get back, is that legal talent.
It's interesting you say that, because I look at these numbers at the bottom. When you calculate the two, there's some public defenders that's making as much or more than what the prosecutors are making, and they get to hold a private practice.
I don't know about that, Mike.
So you would not, these people that's listed down here, these five public defenders, so you wouldn't add those totals up here?
I don't know who you're comparing. I know what the PDs are making, but I don't know who you're comparing in the prosecutor's office.
Well, if we give what Mr. Hunt just asked for, I have to go back and look, Mr. Hunt, 86,000. So now, even right now, if we go with what you're requesting, right, $60,000, we have a public defender here that's getting an additional 39,000. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah. No.
So that PD is actually would make $99,000 more.
Well, again, that when you're looking at the 39 is, that's Jerry Drug. He's the one that I would be looking at as the chief. So that would be
So then the
off the
three,
board, that 39 would be off the board.
so the three super PDs then would be, so they would be 23,000 added on to the 60,000, they're at 83,000.
Yes.
All the close prosecutors and still keep their private practice.
Are there any other questions regarding the public defender's salary portion? If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and consider the budget for review. It looks like, just one increase. We'll go ahead and present your budget again.
Yes, again, under personal services, I think we did ask for a increase from $13,000 for an hourly investigator. We've asked additional $2,000 or $15,000 this year. I talked about John Lawson's position as an investigator. As to supplies, the next category, we've asked for an increase from $3,500 to $4,000. And perhaps the prosecutor's ahead of us about being paperless, but we're still very much, our clientele wants to see their discovery, which they should have, and that's always copied, so that our costs have gone up quite a bit in that regard.
Looks like the remainder categories are the same as years prior.
Yeah. The malpractice insurance is estimated to go up $500, so that's what we budget, $7,500.
Are there any questions from the members regarding the public defender's budget request? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion in categories 2, 3, and 4 with the changes suggested in the 1000-0271 public defenders for approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the 0271 public defender's budget categories 2 and 3 and 4 as presented. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I believe that's all. Bruce, would you like to have the committee meet prior to
We are,
personnel?
we're ready, willing, and able to do that. I've already talked to our president of the board, Joe Lewis, and he's happy to do that as well. If you'd like to.
Okay. Well, we'll discuss that at the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next budget before us this evening is community corrections.
Good evening.
Last but not least.
Last but not least.
Looks like you're on your own.
They all left me. I told Brent when I got up here, I said, Brent, you watch this, and as soon as my budget comes.
You see where you're rated.
Yeah.
Prosecutors.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, okay. So, probably, I don't know, there might be an easier budget for you guys to look at, but I doubt it. The budgets that we have here for community corrections are all grant-funded positions, and they're either funded by the grant or they're funded by fee generating from offenders. So
As far as raises or the 100 series that you want to talk about, our salaries are based for the qualified people who are probation officers. It's based on the probation officer salary schedule. And we adjust that, again, with grant dollars. Anything over that amount is taken care of out of what we call project income or offender fees. And it's taken care of out of there. Our non-certified probation officers and support staff we have and the field officers, those are all matched with whatever the county receives. So whatever you decide your benevolence to give to staff, general staff, we match that with what the support services is unified, probation, community corrections, so whatever the support staff receive, whether that's a percentage or a flat amount, that's the same amount that our individuals will receive. And I'll answer any questions you have about any of that. The budget that we have in the other areas are pretty much standard. We haven't changed anything. There is some nuances or changes that happened when you look at what happened in 22 or 23 or 24. Usually those were changes that were relegated or designated by the state. So there's a few positions that had to be moved because of how the Department of Corrections determined how grant dollars would go. And I had to move those in different categories in order to be able to meet their specifications. So like I said, I'll answer any questions you have, however you want to go about it.
We always approved everything in the past, including salaries.
Yeah. I think, matter of fact, I think 1 year.
Well, we can't approve salaries because we don't.
Not the salaries, but when you finalize the salaries, then.
I was thinking before we had done everything all.
We did, I think, Mike Warback, God rest his soul, I think he was the one that started that. I think you did that, and you guys just moved along from there. But I'm here, you know. Justice never sleeps except me, you know, so I'm.
We'll go ahead and just do the 9101.
I don't know why to ask this question. It was just something that popped in my head.
Sure.
We're talking about jail overcrowding and everything else. On average, how many are on home detention or electronic monitoring, would you say?
So we have a limited, we have 50 units, but we can go from there. I think right now we're in the mid-40s. We just took one today from the jail that is on dialysis. So we're taking that for a section of time for the sheriff. So we are taking some of those cases. We're also in the process, Mike, of looking at expanding what we do with pretrial home detention. So those people that are in the jail, Sheriff Garcia and his staff. Yeah, Sheriff Garcia and his staff. Actually, I think Mr. Pullen, we talked about it at our last board meeting about. So we have a process put together for that. Now, a lot of that is if we have to go to more staff, can the community corrections budget absorb it? But right now, I think we can based upon those numbers. And then there's some other things we look at with pretrial that we have, but we are taking those in consultation with the sheriff on those cases. So difficult medical cases that they have, as long as we can secure them, then we're doing what we can to be able to take those. Violent felons become a big concern for us, but we have tried to, we are prohibited by the code. We have to, by the law, to be able to supervise them a certain way. And so that's difficult to do on some of those cases. But so, I mean, to answer your question, we have 50 units.
More than I thought. So.
Superior Court 3, if Judge McVicker was still here, he would say it's the busiest court he used to say it was in the busiest in the state, now he says it's in the planet. The Superior Court 3, he says it's the busiest. So we are looking at trying to do some things with him on sanctions for ones in Superior Court 3 so they don't end up in jail. So, good question.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Great question.
Pop my head and I wasn't sure when to ask.
Are there any other questions from the members? We can go ahead and approve 9101, categories 2 and 3, 9201, categories 2 and 3. And then you want to do 1122, categories 2, 3, and 4. 9130, categories 2, 3, and 4. 9230, categories 2 and 3. And then 9132, the jail treatment grant, categories 2 and 3. 9232, jail treatment grant as well, categories 2 and 3. And then 9180, the reentry court, the local grant, categories 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Pullen to approve 9101, adult community corrections, categories 2 and 3, 9201, adult community corrections, categories 2 and 3 on the second page there. 1122, categories 2, 3, and 4. 9130, categories 2, 3, and 4. 9230, categories 2 and 3. 9132, categories 2 and 3. 9232, categories 2 and 3. 9180, reentry court, categories 2, 3, and 4.
You got them all.
I think I got them all. Did I miss any?
I was counting with my fingers and toes. I think you got them.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the members?
Got a quick question. 9130, Mr. Cunningham.
Yes.
You look at that, under services and charges, travel and conference and cell phone. It looks like you budgeted in 24, zeroed it out for 24, but then the request is 2,000. You just,
We moved that from one account to another.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and a lot of that really just comes through with,
District
it's
grants.
just how those specifications come on,
I
grant.
thought that's what you were talking about a minute ago,
Yeah.
but it just looks weird.
Like I said, all grant, fee-driven funds.
Yeah, so that's why I have, sometimes I have to move them in order to balance the other ones.
All right, appreciate it.
Good question. Are there any other questions from the members?
Yes, sir.
Public input? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the
That's
hard
all.
work you guys do.
Yep, thank
Get
you.
some rest.
Have a good evening. That concludes night 3 of our scheduled budget hearing. We'll meet tomorrow, Thursday, August the 29th at 6, same place right here. Anything for the good of the order? Good? Okay. We'll be in recess until tomorrow evening.